is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the second generation Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga for 2017. So it's still remarkably thin and light. You know, after not seeing it for a year, I came back with the second generation unit, and I was just once again impressed about how thin and light the thing is. So it yogas, as you can guess from the name. So it can be used as a tablet or a traditional laptop. What's new here? Intel Kaby Lake 7th generation CPUs, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports that also do USB-C Gen 2. Yay! And the lift and lock keyboard has been replaced by what Lenovo calls the Wave keyboard, which is kind of subtly different, and we'll show you how that works. So nice improvements inside. It's still an expensive unit, as was the original X1 Yoga. If you can wait 6 months, usually the prices do finally drop. But our unit is priced around $1,682, and that's the starting point. I know, nice round number there. It's pretty well appointed for the price. We're going to look at it now. So before we get into this, I'd just like to wish Mimi a happy birthday, and I hope you have a great day with your husband and with your daughter. Anyway, what's the same here with this? Well, you still have a 14-inch display. You have 1080p. You have 2K, or WQHD as it's also called, display options, and the OLED 2K display option. Yay. Hopefully it'll be a little easier to get this time around. The first generation, it was hard to find that one. Same 360-degree movement. Now with this new Wave keyboard, you feel a kind of ratcheting motion in it when you're doing this, as it goes through the motions of raising and lowering itself. So what is this new Wave keyboard? It's a lot like the lift and lock. When you bring it down into tablet mode, you feel a little stiffness as you do that in the hinge, and it drops the keys down. Of course, they're locked. They don't move anymore. But also now, it allows them to make the laptop even thinner while leaving room for internal components. When you close it, the keys can retract as well. So it's a little bit hard to see, but they go down flat when you close it too. So they won't be touching the screen. They won't be leaving marks. Cool. That's nice. So that's the other difference. Functionally, otherwise, it's pretty much the same laptop in terms of look and feel, and that's a good thing. Now, I know there's always some people who say, why would I buy a ThinkPad? It's so ugly. Well, it has a minimalist, modern, good look to it, and this one is particularly thin. Also, it's available in the traditional matte black, or there's a silver option. I myself, I'm not that fond of that silver option. It looks a little spray painted on, but hey, that's up to you. Ports are pretty ample for an Ultrabook this thin. So you've got 2 USB 3.0 ports. You have 2 USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 ports. One of these is used for charging. It comes with a USB-C charger. And you have HDMI. And there's still a proprietary connector for the $35 Ethernet dongle adapter. Now you could just get a USB-C one, so I'm not really sure how necessary that is. And we have a micro SD card slot on the back, and optional 4G LTE-A via Sierra Wireless module, which is a Snapdragon X7 LTE modem. So that's right hidden in the back hinge over here with this little cover. As with the last generation model, you get PCIe NVMe SSD options, up to 16 gigabyte of RAM. Now, Lenovo ties that to certain CPU options. So the base Core i5 and the base Core i7, no, you have to move up to the Core i5-7300U or the Core i7-7600U to do that. Still has a Wacom AES pen, which Lenovo calls their ThinkPad Pro pen if you get the full-size model, or you have the little smaller one that tucks into a silo on the machine, and the one that comes with it that tucks into the silo recharges when it's in the silo. They say they can recharge 80% in 5 minutes. I've certainly not had any problem keeping it charged up. So this is the included pen, and the contacts you can see on the side are how it recharges when it's in the silo. It's a little small. It does have little buttons on it, but it gets the job done. This is the ThinkPad Pro pen sold separately. This one is $40 or so, and this has been around for at least a year now. This uses a quadruple A battery, like most of these battery-powered pens, and this is the Lenovo Active Stylus 2, which is Wacom AES, but the latest generation for the Lenovo Yoga 720 specifically, though it too, of course, will work, and it's physically the biggest. It also has a quadruple A battery. This isn't the newer digitizer, as far as I can tell, that they're using on the Lenovo Yoga 720 that has even more impressive pressure sensitivity levels, but it still has pressure sensitivity, works pretty well, and it has the Wacom control panel, so you can adjust how pressure sensitive it is, and you can program what the pens do. And the Wacom control panel lets you control the pressure sensitivity via a slider, and you can set what the pen buttons do globally, not on a per application basis, that's globally. Still has a fingerprint scanner on the keyboard deck as well. 14-inch display as ever, so all the good things, they're still there. Our configuration is pretty much the base model. It's a 256 gigabyte Toshiba PCIe NVMe SSD, 8 gigs of RAM, Core i5, there's 7300U. We have a little bit of an uptick there on our CPU. And Intel HD 620 graphics. Now, Lenovo teased us with Intel Iris graphics on the X1 series for 2017, and it hasn't made an appearance here. My guess is that it won't. Some Lenovos can be a little bit aggressive with the fan, a little noisy. This one is most of the time silent. It's very quiet. It doesn't get hot either. Of course, most Ultrabooks don't. And this has that carbon fiber casing with magnesium alloy underneath, so it's not something that's going to conduct a lot of heat like a metal undercarriage would. And of course, it's mil-spec durable, as Lenovo says, and they generally are as rigid as you could hope for. So that's a selling point compared to some more delicate models. You know, these things can take a lot of abuse and keep on ticking. The new keyboard feels wonderful. ThinkPad keyboards are just awesome to type on. Nice keep weighting, so you got about 70 grams of actuation there. You've got smile-shaped ergonomic keys, 1.7 millimeters of key travel, which is unusually deep in something this thin. It just feels nice to type on. And of course, it's backlit in white. Trackpad with the track point, as good as always. You've got Lenovo's little control panel to tweak the trackpad a little bit. It doesn't really need much help, but you can customize a few things there. And of course, for those of you who like the eraser stick style pointer, it's there for you. So for those of you who spend a lot of time typing, it's certainly a dream machine. It's also nice to have a slightly larger than average display. While most Ultrabooks are 13.3 inches, this one's 14 inches. So a little bit easier on the eyes if you find tiny on-screen items not so comfortable and you're not fond of setting the scaling up way high either. We have the base 1080p display here. It is available in WQHD, which is 2560 by 1440, IPS panel. Ours is IPS as well, glossy. And there's the OLED option, which is also 2560 by 1440. And we reviewed the OLED model last year, and it was scrumptious to look at. Certainly lots of color saturation, very fast refresh time. It's a nice display. But this 1080p display isn't that bad either. On brightness, we weren't that impressed. Lenovo quotes around 300 nits of brightness. We measured 274. But the color gamut was standard for anything in this price range, which is to say almost full sRGB coverage and 73% of Adobe RGB. Contrast is great on it. The gamma is completely correct at 2.2, and even the color temperature is pretty good by today's standards, where some are skewing very, very high. Delta E was great. It calibrates well. So it's a nice looking display, even if you go with the base model. And I think 1080p is a perfectly fine resolution at 14 inches. If you're using this for serious photo editing, I don't know if that's so much the market for this machine. Might be nicer to have more pixels so you don't have to zoom in quite so much to see your photograph that you're working on. As an art machine, Wacom AES is pretty decent. Of course, it's not as good as some Wacom EMR digitizers like on Wacom Cintiqs or the Samsung Notebook 9 Pro for 2017 that we just reviewed, but you do get decent pressure curves on this, pressure sensitivity, no tilt. It's fairly responsive. There's barely a need to calibrate it. It's pretty spot on, and there's no parallax effect. So it's pleasant enough to draw on or to use for photo editing if you'd like to do that. And the included stylus, the ThinkPad Pro Pen Mini Edition, I guess they would call it, compared to the $40 bigger pen that you can buy for this, is usable. It's not so micro tiny that it's a pain to use, and it's nice that it recharges in the silo, so you don't have to worry about batteries for it. I did try out the Lenovo Active Stylus 2, meant for their latest gen digitizer in the Lenovo Yoga 720, and other than a little bit less jitter on slow diagonal lines, really I didn't see much of a difference, so you might as well just stick with the pen that it comes with. Performance on this is an Intel dual-core 15-watt CPU machine with Intel Kaby Lake 7th generation CPU. So 15-watt CPU, dual-core, you get it. It's like any other Ultrabook on the block. It does score nicely on all the synthetic benchmarks that we ran, as we would expect. It scores as well as its competitors. So performance is fine here. Again, the big takeaway on this one is it doesn't get really hot or loud. That's nice. Battery life, well, you know, they claim up to 15 hours of use. I just love these insane battery life claims. There's a 56 watt-hour 4-cell battery in here, which is about normal for a 13-inch class Ultrabook. So we're not talking a huge battery in here, so I don't see how you could get to 15 hours with this unless you had it doing absolutely nothing on zero brightness. But still, battery life is actually pretty good on this at about 9 hours with moderate use. In my test at 40% brightness. So yeah, that's a whole day away from the AC outlet, which is certainly pleasant. It comes with a 65-watt USB-C charger. Really, it only needs a 45-watt. I think Lenovo goes with the 65-watt to speed up the quick charging, and it does charge quickly. As ever, ThinkPads are easy to open. Your IT department wouldn't choose them if they had to bleed to get them open, would they? So just a couple of Phillips head screws here, a little Phillips head screwdriver, and this pops right off. Now there's not a lot to replace or upgrade here. RAM is soldered on, as always the CPU is soldered on with laptops these days, but you do have access to the battery right there. And under this tape, here's our Wi-Fi Intel 8265 AC card, so you could replace that if you wanted. And this is the SSD wrapped up like a piece of gum here in some thermal mylar tape. So that's the second generation Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga. And as ever, it's an expensive piece. It's not a casual purchase, certainly unless work's buying it for you, then hey. Starting around $1,682, yeah, it's expensive. And if you want to add on your OLED option, that's going to be about $220. If you want LTE, you're going to spend a couple $100 on that too. So yeah, is it worth it though? You know, number one, you could wait 6 months because they always get cheaper then. But if you can't wait, I would say it's worth it if you value having the bigger screen real estate. 14 inches versus 13.3. It's noticeable. It's enjoyable. It's incredibly durable. You don't have to be careful of it. It's not one of those frou-frou laptops that you have to carry around carefully in a case. There is an LTE option. A lot of laptops don't have that. I know particularly you business travelers need that. And then there's the OLED display option. Not many laptops have that. Very, very few. And boy, is it nice on the eyes. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.